As of this recording, I've seen Prey 3 times. Twice in English, and then the third time I watched the Comanche dub while drawing. And it got me thinking that I don't know what my favorite Predator movie is anymore because for a long time I had my ranking until this came out, and it's made me rethink a couple things. So just today I've gone back and I've watched Predator 2 on 4K because not long ago I watched the first Predator, and I've seen Prey 3 times very recently. And so I just wanted to rank the 5 movies. I'm not including AVP because I don't consider them part of the Predator movie franchise or the Alien movie franchise. They're kind of their own thing, separate at this point. Uh, and yeah, they're just too wacky. They're pretty wacky, so pretty goofy. So yeah, got the 5 movies here. Kicking things off, The Predator, Shane Black's The Predator, is F tier. Yeah, I'm gonna say, new one? No, E tier. It's my least favorite of every single Predator movie. I I even prefer Requiem. I know I'm not including those movies, but I'd rather be watching Requiem over Shane Black's The Predator, and that's just because it's so dumb. Like, it's fun to watch if you like have been lobotomized, but otherwise it's a wreck. The writing is awful. The jokes are just consistent and bad all the time. It's full of like gags. The only one that there was one that just took me so far out of the film that I found it funny, and it's like when this predator's like going at them and whatnot, and he like chops the dude's arm off. You don't see that, but like it's in the back of some like police like convict transport vehicle, and basically he like just sticks like a thumbs up through the window, and the driver's like, "You're good back there," and the predator sticks out this guy's thumbs up. And he's like, "Well, alright," and keeps driving. The kid's like murked or whatever. So dumb. And like the whole autism thing, if you've watched like the movie or a single review for it, you know what I'm talking about. It's just awful. It's like a plot device as being autistic. Um, and the whole DNA sampling and upgrade predator, it's bad. I don't like it. That being said, I'm not putting it in F tier because it's got funny moments, that's for sure. And there's this one shot that saves a whole movie where it's like this dude is like hiding behind a tree, and then like the camera tracking is like just super. It's so it's so weird. It's right towards the end. It's like right before he dies, and it's just like it's really hard to describe without actually being able to show. But yeah, that's what's saving it from being absolute F tier. And I mean, the action is good, the violence is good, so yeah, the CG's kind of crap, but it's just scraping the bottom of E tier, but not quite F tier. So that's The Predator. Next up, Predators. You see, I'm saving my top 3 for last because obviously, why would I not do that? But yeah, Predators. I think it's quite good. I like all the lore additions. I don't like how long it is. I feel like it could definitely benefit from being a shorter movie. That being said, it's pretty cool throughout the whole thing. I'd say it's a good B tier. It adds a fair bit to the lore that, I mean, they never revisit, which I'm okay with. I'd rather this be a standalone movie rather than like them trying to spin this off into like a whole thing, which I mean they might have, but this movie came out in 2010, so they've had plenty of time to do that, and they didn't. But I feel like it's getting its reputation as the underrated Predator movie, which, you know, good for it. I don't think it is, but I think it's cool, well executed, and good looking, albeit occasionally a little stale. But otherwise, it's pretty cool. It's very good for a reboot. It's pretty cool in that sense, but you know, that's those two movies. They're easy for me to rank, you know. Last and second last, I guess. It's these 3 that I really struggle with, especially with Prey having just come out and personally enjoying it so much. I don't know what to do anymore because the first movie is such a masterpiece, and I could do like a whole video essay on like all the nitty-gritty of what makes it so good. But at the same time, it's not my favorite. if this was like an objective tier list, you know, that would be way up in S tier, which it still deserves to be. This is more so just my opinion, which for me, it is not my favorite. But at the same time, every time I like critically think about this, it ends up like pushing itself up the ranks again. So I'm going to start off by putting it in A, even though objectively the movie itself is S tier if you're like comparing it to other movies and whatnot. But for me, it has to either be my second or third favorite movie, like Predator movie that is. It's these two where I really struggle because before Prey came out, Predator 2 was my favorite Predator movie. I don't know why I like it so much, but I far more enjoy Predator 2. Not far more. It's not like it's a better movie than the first one. It's just I personally prefer Predator 2. I think it's really wacky. I think it looks just so different, like it's super stylized. The story is awesome, the setting's great. It was like a comic before a movie, and the comic was pretty cool. They don't follow the comic story. The whole comic thing is it was just in a city in the comic. But yeah, I think the location's really cool. I really like the Predator in Predator 2, the City Hunter. It's played by the same like monster actor as the first one. I forget his name, but he does a really good job as the Predator. See, I like Predator 2 more than I like Predator. But this is where I need to place Prey, because Prey is so good. I'm really stoked with how Prey came out. I was excited for ages to see it. And then when it finally came out, I watched it 3 times, you know? So, like, yeah, it's pretty insane how good it is. Easily the best score out of all the movies. I think that followed closely behind is the first movie. It's got an excellent score, but Prey just has, like, it's so fresh and it's nice. It's really good. So if this was a score tier list, boom, S tier. But I don't know if for me it's equally second place with the first movie, right? So like my tier list would not tier list, but my ranking would go Predator 2, then simultaneously underneath Predator and Prey, which I mean that seems poetic almost. Predator and Prey are kind of like that, kind of a cool dynamic. But at the same time, having watched it recently and Predator 2 recently, because I really needed to knuckle down between these two, which one I prefer. Even with Prey, I've seen it 3 times now. Even with Prey coming out, nothing is topping Predator 2 for me. So I just want to do like a review of Predator 2, seeing as I think it's maybe not criminally underrated, because people do talk about it as like that other Predator movie, but I think it's the best. It's out with like a panning shot from the jungle, and it's like, oh, we're back here again. Look at this, more Predator action. Cool, we've been here. It's like, and then it pans upwards. You start seeing like this winding like road, and you're like, interesting. We're close to civilization, and boom, LA, city skyline, right? It's pretty cool. We're now in the concrete jungle. That's the whole point, right? So, and then straight into the action, we got like a gang war on the streets, like going crazy. It's pretty intense. And, like you got this main dude Scorpion, who's like snorting cocaine and like akimboing like Uzis. It's bonkers. And this is where we meet like our core cast, I guess, of Danny Glover as Michael Harrigan. It's like beat cop doing his thing, and then his like crew, his like group of other police that he works with. You've got Danny Boy. Bill Paxton is introduced later as like a rookie trying to prove himself, and then there's also like I forget her name, but she's like pregnant and doesn't get killed. It is what it is. Yeah, so they go like they're like in the middle of this like gunfire, like they're caught in the crossfire, and they've got to deal with this Scorpion dude. He's going crazy, and basically it's like all this action. Like there's a slow-mo shot of a car blowing up, and Danny Glover like knocks his car door off so that he can like hang out the side and like shoot him with his like handheld shotgun while he's like ramming into them. It's pretty cool, pretty crazy start to a movie. And straight off the bat, we get the Predator's like heat vision. We already know that the Predator's like looking and lurking and like paying attention and stalking and doing its thing. So it doesn't waste any time like being like, oh, what's this? Kind of like the first one had to, because you know, it'd be a different movie without it, right? So we go from that to like they're being like, man, what happened here? Because like before they can even bust all these like gang members, they're all killed. Like they're armoring up, ready to like take out this police force, and they just all get killed in the top of a building. And they're like, damn, what's this? And then later on, we're introduced to like the voodoo cult. I don't know what to call it, but like basically they all work for King Willie, who's like this crazy like drug lord essentially in LA. Yeah, so we've got like his I don't know what to call them, but like followers. I don't know. Either way, they're like in this penthouse, and there's like this Colombian like rival, and they've got like him hanging up, and they're like painting on his chest with like lamb's blood and whatnot. Real like it's the voodoo magic ritual, right? And then like they cut into his chest, and like they start cutting his heart out when the predator attacks, and like wipes out everyone in this room. It's crazy. And then a little bit later, Michael Harrigan, Danny Glover, and his mob show up. And they're like, again? Because they're constantly seeing like these bodies, which there was one body at the start of the movie that was hanging, and then now they're here. There's like 6, and they're all hanging from the ceiling, and they're like all skinned completely. Classic Predator stuff. And they're like, I guess we got a new player in town, right? Like, so they want to get to the bottom of this. And then it follows like them investigating, I guess, and all the while interlaced is like this news reporter for Hardcore. It's called Hardcore Special Report. And yeah, he's got like his whole like kill count going on, and it's epic. And yeah, so everyone's investigating what's causing all this. And when Danny Boy goes back to the crime scene and finds like ammo from the spear gun, and that's when he gets absolutely like sliced off screen, unfortunately. But he dies, and then later on, Danny Glover's like, damn, what's this? He finds the spear gun, and they're analyzing, and like, oh, it's from another world kind of thing. But this is where things are like really precarious, because all the way up until this point, and even after for a little while, Gary Busey's character, who works for the feds, is like, you guys can't have any part of this. This is our thing now. We're taking over completely. And you know, Danny Glover's just not having it, which, I mean, kudos to him for standing up to Gary Busey. So yeah, they're doing their thing. Then there's this like scene where he's like mourning Danny Boy at like a cemetery, and the Predator's there, just hanging out, I guess. I don't know why. He's just there, and a kid sees the Predator. He's like, want some candy? And like the Predator learns that line, because that's the thing Predators do. So now I've got like the Predator. It's pretty funny. And then that leads into like a subway scene where like these just like gangsters, kind of like just crooks, not anyone important, are giving this dude on the train some trouble. When this guy whips out his gun, he's like, whoa, don't come anywhere near me. And they're like, oh look, we've got guns too. And then everyone in the train carriage just whips out all their like big irons and just points them at all these crooks, and they're like, well. And that's when Bill Paxton gets involved, and things start going sideways. It's like this really cool scene where like all the lights are flickering because the Predator is attacking yet again. Crazy, right? The Predator's always nearby. That's what Bill Paxton does. And then that kind of segues into Danny Glover's character going into the subway, like seeing what he can see, where he spots the Predator like right at the end of the tunnel, like ripping Bill Paxton's head out and then like escaping. So he's like, oh damn, I gotta go get that guy. And that initiates the final chase. Like it's this whole big finale where he's like chasing the Predator through LA. It's pretty cool. But that chase is interrupted by Gary Busey, who's got like this whole like operation out the back of this slaughterhouse where they've tracked the Predator to. It's like this whole like truck. And they've got like these thermally insulated suits, and they gotta go like sneak up on the Predator. It's pretty cool. And then what follows is like a sequence kind of like Aliens, you know, like the part where all the motion track is and whatnot when they first go into the hive. Very similar to that, but you know, Predator editions. There's like all thermal imagery and stuff. It's cool. And then the Predator takes out all Gary Busey's men, and Gary Busey is blown off screen by like an explosion. And then Danny Glover enters and he's like confronts the Predator for the first time, like properly confronts. They get into a little bit of a tussle and the Predator gets shot to bits by Danny Glover. He's like, "Oh yeah, I bested this foe that's been taunting me for so long." And he's like, "Oh, look at you." And then like he starts like the Arnie line of like, "You aren't ugly," and then the Predator finishes it off. It's like a little tag team. It's kind of funny. By this point, the Predator's unmasked, right? And he's like, "Brah, I'm still alive," and that like really kicks things off. They're like fighting and stuff, and then Gary Busey comes back. He's not dead, because of course, why would you be able to kill Gary Busey? And he gets like absolutely just cut in half by the Predator's smart disc. It's pretty cool. You see like his legs fall and like guts. Yeah, it's pretty epic. And then yeah, the rest of the movie, it's just like a big chase between the Predator and Danny Glover, where he ultimately like is in the Predator ship, which has some really cool lighting, by the way. It's like all these like it's kind of weird to describe. It's like stencils on the wall almost, but instead of like where you'd paint, it's kind of like orange light. It's a bit weird, but it looks really cool in the movie. And there's like fog on the floor everywhere. And yeah, so Danny Glover's like playing dead in the fog, and then the Predator's like, this is like standing over him, and he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna win." When he gets like, gets stabbed in the belly, and he dies, and that's the end of the Predator. And then it turns out there's a bunch of Predators there all along. The Elder's like, "Yeah, good effort, man." Gives him a pistol that we later see in Prey. It's awesome. I'm so glad they tied these two movies together because they're probably my favorites. I think I like Prey more than the first Predator. I think, even though the first Predator is such a like, just a masterpiece. It's so fun to watch. It's so well written. It's so well, yeah. The first one is so good. I just think I like Prey more, just because different a little bit. And I love Dan Trachtenberg's stuff. 10 Cloverfield Lane's really cool. I just like his directing style and the cinematography. But anyway, yeah. So they link Prey to Predator 2, which is awesome. I'm so excited to track this pistol throughout time now because it needs to end up ultimately in Danny Glover's hands, which we know how Danny Glover gets it, but how does the Elder Predator get it, if it's still in the Comanche people's possession? Speaking of which, I watched the Comanche dub of Prey, and it was pretty cool. I mean, I didn't have it on, like, I wasn't actively watching it, so I can't tell you if the dubbing is, like, noticeably bad. From what I watched, it was, like, it actually seemed to line up pretty well. Like, it didn't seem that bad, because they're obviously speaking English in the film, but, like, the dubbing. Everyone knows what dubbing is. Why am I explaining dubbing? Yeah, I watched that, which makes my third viewing of Prey. I liked it that much. So yeah, I'm keen to see where the franchise goes from here, because if Prey is the standard and they keep that up, like if that's the level of good we get from now on with this movie, like IP, that would be wicked. So yeah, that's my mini Predator 2 synopsis. And I just love it, it's wacky, it's goofy, it looks really good. Still my favorite Predator movie, followed by Prey. I think that's definitively my ranking. And yeah, Prey's only beat because, Gary Busey. So yeah, that's about it. Go watch both. Go watch Predator 2 and Prey simultaneously, one on each monitor. I don't know.